are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Hello, and welcome to On the Beat on Germantown Municipal Television. I'm your host, Rodney Wright, Deputy Chief of the Germantown Police Department. On this show, we will provide our viewers with a behind-the-scenes look at policing in Germantown and spotlight the work done by the members of our department to keep Germantown one of the safest cities in Tennessee. We will also speak with some of our various community partners in order to educate our viewers about public safety issues in Germantown. Today, I'm glad to welcome Floyd Bonner, the Sheriff of Shelby County, and Chief Deputy Scott Wright to talk about the recent election and to talk about Sheriff Bonner's transition into his new role. Later, we will speak with Macon Moore, Chief Deputy at the Desoto County Sheriff's Department, about the recent SWAT competition hosted in South Haven, Mississippi. And finally, in our employee spotlight, we will speak with Germantown Police Lieutenant Herndon. But first, I am pleased to welcome Sheriff Floyd Bonner and Scott Wright to the show. Gentlemen, first of all, welcome to the show and congratulations on your recent election, Sheriff.
Thank you so much.
Maybe by way of introduction, just tell us a little bit about how long you've been with the Sheriff's Office.
Well, been at Sheriff's Office now 38 years. As a matter of fact, I made 38 years this month. It seemed like, I guess, all my life since I'm only 40. No, I'm just kidding. Been here for 38 years. Worked in all the divisions, rose up through the ranks, and was fortunate enough, and the citizens of Memphis and Shelby County gave me an opportunity to be the next sheriff.
Yes, sir. What about you, Chief Wright?
Thanks for having us here, but I've been here 28 years. I started out as a cadet, which that's a position we don't have anymore, cutting grass at our pistol range 28 years ago. I just got 28 this month like the sheriff did, and I've worked in almost every division of the sheriff's office, and it's been a good place to work.
I know that through all those years, you guys have a lot of experience, and you bring a lot of knowledge and expertise to your new roles. And speaking of that, I know that you've both been in leadership positions with the sheriff's
Right.
office for a long time, but now you, I guess, are moving to a new seat in a new role. And really like to hear a little bit about how that transition has been going in the last couple months.
Well, it's been busy times, as you know. As the sheriff, I had to assemble a staff, and not very many changes. We have some excellent officers there on the law enforcement side as well as the jail side and the correction side, if you will. And just assembling the staff, getting them together, and then trying to find out which direction we want to go. I was talking to the jail staff this morning, our correctional staff, and about some things. And even on the law enforcement side, Chief Wright, he runs the day-to-day operations. I kind of let him handle it, but we're trying to develop our relationships with our partners, with Germantown, Bartlett, Millington, even DeSoto County. Chief Moore, very familiar with him, and so we're trying to move forward with our relationships.
And I know, and Chief, in your position, it sounds like there's been a lot of consistency, so far in the transition. And I know there's some new leadership that stepped on board, but as you take over your new role, what about some of the challenges that certainly still remain, but looking forward that you guys are going to focus on?
In my new role, there's a lot of, I'm having to learn. As you go up in each division of the sheriff's office and in each rank, you usually have a concern for your area. That this is my area, it's territorial, and at the position I'm at now, the last position I had as an assistant chief, I was over 3 divisions, and those were my 3 main concerns. But as the chief deputy, I've got to look out for everybody. I've got to look over everybody, and I've got a lot of learning to do. I'm excited that he had trust in me to put me in this position, and I do have an advantage, a little bit of an advantage I've got 3 former chief deputies I can reach out to if if I need a little advice, I've got the sheriff here who was our last chief deputy. I've got Bill Odom. You know, I spoke to him about this when I made chief deputy. That was our chief deputy, and my father is a former chief deputy. So I've got three guys I can reach out to with a lot of experience when I need some advice, and it's good to have that support group.
Certainly, I know experience and wisdom is extremely important. I know in your new roles, and I'm just thinking about, you know, maybe priorities for you guys looking ahead. I know that our residents, certainly public safety is always a priority, and safety and crime, and I know that's true also for people who live in Shelby County. I imagine, you know, through your campaign and meeting with people, you heard a lot about crime, and
Right.
and
Yeah.
I don't know, just you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, crime is always number one. The community safety, what we're trying to do, and we have what we call data smart policing, and right now we're retooling that, if you will, under Chief Wright's watchful eye. We're trying to get better at what we're doing. We've done somewhat, I talked a little bit about it during the campaign about predictive analysis. So we're trying to take our crime fighting tools, trying to add just a little bit more to the toolbox, if you will. We're going to retool that and look at it, and as you know, you send officers out to our Data Smart meeting, and all the municipalities do, and we certainly do appreciate, and Memphis included, because as our former sheriff said all the time, that criminals know no boundaries. So what's happening in Germantown very likely is happening in the county as well as the city of Memphis. So it's important for us to develop those relationships, keep those partnerships healthy, and where we're all fighting the same thing, crime in our community.
And I just would echo that. I think that's a fantastic point, that it's important for our community to know, and the larger community to know about. This isn't unusual for us to sit down and talk about things. You know, as you mentioned, the Sheriff's Department leads in a lot of areas, and the data smart policing, and not only leads, but also shares information. And I know that you partner with us, and we partner with everyone else in our area, and it's important because we're all fighting the same battle, so to speak. But what about that relationship with the city of Memphis? And I know that you know, we're stronger together, and can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that I'm proud of is my chief deputy and I, the relationship that we have with Director Rollins and his deputy director, Mike Riles. I was just with them yesterday, as a matter of fact, in some other meetings. As you know, we have Metro Gang Unit, and we were involved in a shooting, and that involved city officers as well as county officers, and we were trying to iron some things out, and we did. And I'm very proud of the relationship that Chief Wright and I have with the Memphis Police Department, as well as all the municipalities. I'll tell you, it's not anyone that has told us no, and we're certainly not going to tell anyone no.
Well, we're just about out of time, but I just want to say, you know, on behalf of our department, we thank you for the relationship. We thank you for the partnership. And also, I know Sheriff Bonner, the person, and I know that Shelby County has a fantastic man there that cares about the community. I know Chief Wright feels the same way, and you guys are putting together a great leadership team. And I look forward to our continued partnership and maybe having you back on the show to talk about that further.
We'd be more than happy to. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Chief.
It's time to take a short break. When we return, we will talk with Chief Deputy Macon Moore from the Desoto County Sheriff's Department. Be back in a minute.
How long have we been married, dear?
For 76 years.
He was kind and generous to me before we married, and he was kind and generous to me all these years. We decided on Meals on Wheels because I was getting to the point where I couldn't do all the things that I had been able to do. We're the Spans. America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
Todd's a great guy. I mean, Look at him. What a sweetheart. Attaboy. Wait, Todd, what are you doing? How totally selfish and un-Todd-like of you. Come on, Todd. Come on, man.
You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Welcome back to On the Beat. The Germantown Police SWAT team recently competed in the Mississippi Tactical Officers Association SWAT competition in South Haven, Mississippi, hosted by the Desoto County Sheriff's Department. Here to talk about that event is Chief Deputy Macon Moore. First of all, by way of introduction, thanks for being here, number one, coming up from North Mississippi.
It's a pleasure, thanks.
And just introduce yourself to our viewers. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been with the agency, and maybe just in law enforcement.
Macon Moore, been with the Sheriff's Department since 2009. Been in law enforcement for 28 years. So, been knowing you for quite a while, and both of us are old SWAT guys. So, the SWAT competition is something that's near and dear to our hearts.
Absolutely, and we're just coming off the annual competition that you guys play a big part in. Had teams, our team participated in that as well, and I thought it'd be good just to talk a little bit about the competition and maybe the history, and to educate our viewers a little bit and the folks around DeSoto County about what that's about.
So the Mississippi Tactical Officers Association started approximately 32 years ago, and it started as a training cadre that went around and helped agencies with tactical teams. That in the mid to late 80s was a time that most departments were just getting into the realm of having a tactical unit, and then a yearly competition evolved out of that. And for the last several years, we've been hosting the competition in DeSoto County and South Haven. And so basically, it gives the guys a chance to gather up with their peers from other teams and go through a series of events. They're very stressful physically. They test your marksmanship skills, and it's a team building kind of event concept, and it also lets these guys train together all the time. We had several agencies from the Memphis metro area that were there, and all these guys go to schools together, they train together. We actually work operations together, but this gives them a chance to test their skills against their peers, so to speak.
Well, I know, SWAT duties at many departments, I know it's true for us, and I believe you guys, that these guys do this voluntarily. I know that normally they're working a shift or working a district, and this is something that they aspire to do separate and apart from that. Can you talk a little bit about?
Sure. So obviously all these guys are in a law enforcement capacity somewhere, but then they volunteer to take the next step, which is to join or to try out to join a tactical team. And most of this is it's a volunteer assignment, but you have to meet very rigorous standards to be a member of one of these teams. And these guys, law enforcement is inherently dangerous as it is, but these guys are the ones we ask to take over when we deal with the worst of the worst. And they train a lot, and as administrators, you and I try to do everything we can to provide them with the best equipment and as much training as we possibly can, so that when they're ready, when we call them for one of these worst case scenarios, that they are ready. In these events like this competition, and I'm sure we're going to run some clips in a minute, you'll see they're extremely physically challenging. The stress level is high because you're surrounded by 7 or 8 teams of your peers, and most of these competitions are won by just fractions of seconds. And we actually went into a tiebreaker with your guys, which I think y'all won by 25 or 30 seconds.
I think that's a really important point that I wouldn't want people to miss. we train a lot and we try to prepare for, providing a high level of service. But it's hard sometimes, well, really to create the kind of stress that an officer may go through when they're dealing with a real situation. Can you talk about just a little bit about the pressure that maybe that's created through a competition like this?
So all these events are timed, and not only are they timed, but they test you they test your mental ability under very stressful conditions, because you may have a series of targets where you have to shoot there may be 6 targets, and you have to shoot a certain color of the 6 targets. And you're running, you're diving down on the ground, you're getting ready to shoot, you're having to select a certain target, and the whole time you got your teammates behind you watching you. You've got 6 other teams made up of 8 or 10 guys on each team, and there's only fractions of a second to separate the third place team from the first place team. So that's a lot of pressure on these guys, and they're all type A. They all want to do the best they can do, and it really, without being in an actual situation, this is a really good way to test their abilities.
Now, I think you mentioned a video. I think we're going to try to show some of the footage from the competition, and we thank Alex Coker from your department for that, for sure.
He does a good job for us.
And you mentioned earlier about, these guys train together, they know each other, and I know there's some teams from a little bit further away down in Mississippi, but just generally speaking, I know from our standpoint that we work together a lot. We meet periodically, not just with us, but from the Memphis metro area. And to me, from that partnership and that relationship certainly is beneficial to getting the things done that we need done around here.
I'm fortunate, and I get to travel a lot, and I can tell you that the law enforcement agencies in the Memphis metro area have probably the best relationship. When I go to other areas and I tell them that, we work with the sheriff's department up here, we work with Germantown municipalities, we have them down work. They just don't do that in other places like we do here. We are very blessed, and the citizens here are blessed. I mean, we work as one huge team around here, and you'll see guys on these videos cheering for each other, and they're tight. I mean, it's a bonding experience.
And I guess maybe a practical example of that would be, I know that recently y'all had a visit down in South Haven where you had to pull some resources of different teams together, and I think that's probably a great example of the necessary to work with one another.
We just another example is communications interoperability between agencies here. We work together so much. It's just like one big unit.
Well, as we wrap up here today, I guess for me, one of the main takeaways and the main values of the competition or just partnerships and working together, it makes our individual team members better. It makes them collectively better. And I think in the end, it benefits our citizens.
Without a doubt, it does.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us, Chief, and thank you for your participation and host of the competition.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.
It's time to take another short break. When we return, Lieutenant Davis Herndon will join us. We'll be right back.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made her college years happen. Opening that education savings account when she was little. Spearheading a campus tour. And another, and another, and another, and another. Bam! Deciphering financial aid. She was like, what? But now she's like, you aced planning for college. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Eva Marie smoked 12,000 packs of cigarettes over 15 years. She quit, and now there's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. No matter how much you smoked, early detection could save you. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Welcome back to On the Beat. During this segment, we like to introduce some of our officers and recognize them for the work they do to serve and protect our community. Joining us today is Lieutenant Davis Herndon. First of all, Davis, welcome. Lieutenant Herndon, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Thanks for joining us. Just as we kick things off here, just why don't you tell us about how long you've been with the department and maybe the things you've done along the way to where you are in your current position.
Okay. I have been with the department a little over 11 years. I went to, in my time here, I have gotten the opportunity, I've been in patrol. I did investigations for a little while. I was able to serve on the FBI Safe Streets Task Force for a period of time. And then I felt the need to test to get promoted, and luckily enough, I was one of the ones that did it. So now I'm a lieutenant over the midnight shift, as well as our SWAT stuff. I graduated Memphis Tax School, seems like a decade ago, almost a decade ago, and it's kind of where I've been.
Well, speaking about the Memphis Tax School and that part of your career so far, you and your teammates from the SWAT team recently are coming off a competition down in Desoto County, and we just spoke to Chief Macon Moore about a little bit about on his side. But first, congratulations. You guys went down there and defended your title in a very fantastic way. So talk a little bit about what it takes maybe to get to that level and maybe some of the preparation and just talk a little bit of maybe the build up and then the competition itself.
Okay. To get to that level, a big portion of that for me and when we talk to the guys on the team is heart, desire to want to be here. And our guys have that. Our guys want to be here. They dedicate a very large portion of their own personal time to this. Being that we're a part-time team, we wear many hats, we're pulled in different directions. Guys have to dedicate some of their time, their personal time, and that's time away from their families. That's time away from, the hobbies that they enjoy, and do this. And the guys willingly do that. A lot of times our training days are very long and very rigorous to get ready. We do, obviously, physical conditioning. You've got to have that frame of your ability to last for long periods of time. So we push very hard on physical conditioning. We hold a very high standard at there. And the shooting, we try as hard as we can. We're very lucky, that we train with other departments in our area. We're all friends, and so we get to train with other guys, and you learn new concepts, new tactics that make you better. It's another thing that we really try, and the whole department does, is that you never put yourself on an island. Always be open to learning and trying, new concepts and new tactics. And so I think all of those things are a culmination of our success so far. The biggest portion of it is the quality of guys that we have. They're fantastic.
And I agree 100% for sure. I mean, it's really, you put your team together, any team, it's really about the players and the talent you have. And we're very, very fortunate, as you mentioned. We've got really, really talented people up and down our roster, whether in the SWAT team or otherwise. So I did mention that you defended your title, so that must have mean that you won last year.
Yes, sir.
And I think it would be interesting to hear between what was the difference, or what happened differently maybe this year as opposed to last year. I guess they say it's winning the title is one thing, defending it is another.
Yes, sir. I think in 2017, it seemed to me that we were kind of an unknown. And so guys didn't know what to expect, and we had done pretty well the first and most of the second day, and it's a 3-day competition. And by the time the guys had kind of figured out where we were standing, it was almost too late, and so they didn't see us coming. And this year they knew, and we competed against some fantastic guys. DeSoto County, I can't say enough about the quality of guys they have as well. Super guys.
Well, you mentioned fitness. I imagine that takes a lot of dedication to get to that level, and mentioned marksmanship skill too. What do you think? What is one of the takeaways from the competition that maybe you could take back to everyday patrol duties or everyday work things?
Excuse me. Two things mainly. One for me is, again, like I spoke about earlier, being on an island. You learn concepts from guys, and so if you have an open mind and you're surrounded by 80 of these guys who do this, and trained up, and you learn new ways of doing things, new ways of weapon manipulation. Your physical conditioning, you learn where you are in relation to all these guys and where you need to be. That's a huge part of it. The other is you learn equipment. You learn what equipment works, what equipment doesn't. With the competition, they also have guys come down and do demonstrations on new stuff that's coming out in the tactical world. And so you get a better broad view of everything that the job entails.
Real quick, as we get close to wrapping up, what does Davis Herndon like to do when he's not at work?
I like to spend time with my daughter. That's a big part. She's 3, and so she's wild, and so it's a lot of fun. I spend a lot of time with her, and every now and then when I can get away and just do me time. I enjoy fishing and hunting a lot. I'm going to go to South Dakota tomorrow and hunt for a couple of days.
Well, I think you're an example of the great level of talent that we have here. You're a great leader. You obviously, you and your peers demonstrated that through the SWAT competition, but even more so than that, I see you demonstrate that every day. And I think our citizens should know that, yes, we go to a competition and we compete, but at the end of the day, you and your team members are out here serving our community day in and day out, and we're very well prepared, and we're very, very much thankful for that. So thank you for that, and also thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you, Chief.
That's all the time we have on this edition of On the Beat. Stay tuned to us throughout the year as we spotlight public safety programs and partnerships and bring you interviews with the people who strive to make Germantown a safe place to live, work, and play. If you'd like more information on this show or any other show on Germantown Municipal Television, please visit www.gmtvonline.org. If you have questions about policing in Germantown or topics you'd like for discussed on the show, please email me at rbright@germantown-tn.gov. We'll see you when On the Beat returns next month.